Hello, my creative friend. I have a confession to make today. One thing I hear a lot is I can't draw a stick figure. Put that in quotations because it comes out of the mouth of almost every time I teach an event or just talk to somebody about creating art. Somebody says that, and inside I just go, but that has nothing to do with painting. I can't draw a statement is I think one of the number one things that keeps people, beautiful people like you, maybe beautiful people that I've known and met, it keeps these beautiful people from making the beautiful art that could be coming out of them. Like they're holding themselves back with this, I can't draw excuse. And it makes me a little crazy inside because I just want to be like, but wait, you don't need to draw to paint. You don't need to know how to draw to paint. And I can't emphasize that enough. That's why when I'm using my method, my approach is super minimalist, super minimal supplies, no overwhelm with any of that. And I'm never pulling out a pencil and like drawing some complicated sketch. We're just going in there and we're just diving right in. We're focusing on blocking in the color and layering the paint and having fun and expressing ourselves and focusing on the core things that matter a lot more, in my opinion, than having that technical skill of drawing, which is a bonus. I'm not saying it's wrong, so don't get me wrong on that, because I know I've seen a lot of artists. I myself have used sketches. It's not that you can't do that or that you can't make art that way. All I'm saying is, if that's the excuse that's holding you back, you no longer have an excuse today after watching my video, because I'm telling you, you don't need to know how to draw to paint. And most of my tutorials are going to prove that that is 100% true. So today, as always, we're going to do a 30-minute-ish video, and I'm going to walk you through painting a landscape that requires absolutely no drawing and only an open heart, the willingness to do it. That's the key thing. You got to take action. So if you're watching videos of people making art and you're thinking, oh, but I can't draw, or oh, I don't have the time, all the things I hear over and over, you got to give yourself permission. You got to just dive in and start doing it. You got to take action, because that action is going to provide the result that's going to prove you wrong in the best way, because you don't want to be right. You don't want to limit yourself and not create that beautiful art you have to share. And if that story and that belief is what's holding you back, you've got to create evidence for yourself by doing the thing, creating the result, and do it over and over again. And we're going to do it so quick, and it's going to be so easy. And again, no pencils, just an open heart and the willingness to do it. One more point I want to emphasize is it's not about perfection, it's about presence. So I emphasize this so much because when we're in our head and we're trying to make it perfect and we're trying to be so precise, and this is where drawing can kind of convolute the expression a little bit. Like if you're too hyper focused on it being a certain way, you aren't present with it. You aren't just enjoying the experience in the moment, being with the experience and just letting whatever flows out of your hands flow out of your hands. And that's where your true style and voice is going to start to come through in your art, is when you're not going for perfection, you're going for presence. You're present with your production. So you're producing something. So it's kind of like meditation, but you get something out of it, something tangible that you've created and that you've manifested. So this is one of the most beautiful things about making a painting. Second reason why we skip the drawing is because it overcomplicates. It's just another step. It's another tool. It's another time-consuming task that you are incorporating into the time that you're making to create. So the less complication we can have in the process, the more likely you're going to actually enter into the doing of the process. So we were going to minimize it as much as possible down to the bare bones necessities of the core fundamentals that you need to actually produce the results that you want to see in your painting. So, all right, grab your canvas, grab your brushes, grab your paint, the same stuff I always use. We're using the primaries, just a few simple brushes and an 8x10 canvas. And let's go ahead and see this in action. All right, so we're going to use those basic supplies. I'm going to start with my 1-inch flat brush, and we're going to make our first color, which is just going to be some light yellow. So you're going to use a little bit of white and yellow. And notice I just dip my brush in the white and then dip my brush in the yellow. You don't even have to mix it on your palette if you don't want to. We're gonna go right towards the center of the canvas. So I'm gonna go maybe just a little bit below center. So if you're in the middle, that's the middle. One way to find the middle is to just bring your fingers to the top and bottom, and then the right and left, and bring them together at the same speed and find the middle. So I find the middle a lot because that helps with just getting things in a good spot. And then I'm just gonna pull this from side to side, and you can just do little X strokes. You can always add a little bit of water into your brush to make your paint look a little bit more smooth coming on. Now what I'm going to do next is just begin to add some pink. So I'm not putting that much paint, I'm just putting a little bit slightly below center in a block. And then I'm going to add red and white. And again, I'm just going to kind of dip my brush in it. You can mix it on the palette if you want to, like that. Or you can mix it on your canvas. You can kind of play around. And we're going to go in there and add that just to the top and the bottom. Same thing on both. Notice how it looks kind of sketchy at first. I can just dip my brush in the white and then run that over the top. Again, you can also use a little bit of water. That helps you paint with the blending. And this is just called color blocking. So this is why no drawing is required for painting. A lot of times you're just color blocking. And then once you have your color blocking, you're just layering. So you have all these different things going on that are not drawing related, but that give you really cool results. So there we go. We've got a little bit of yellow, a little bit of these peachy colors. Now I put the pink a little bit on top of the yellow, so that's why you get that peachy kind of color. And you do want to blend your paint, like let it dance together. It's okay. It doesn't have to be completely separated. And then, but you do eventually want to separate it so you don't blend your colors. So you want to have some pink, some white and red with no yellow mixed in. So just make sure you're not mixing any yellow in. And then just notice how it gets a little bit brighter. You're going to bring that up. And also down. So we can just play with these colors. We're going to add our final colors in a second. And then again, if you want to just get your sky looking a little lighter, just dip your brush in the white and then just go in there and blop in some white. And then again, that might end up looking like a cloud, but we did not have to draw that. We just popped in a little bit more white in some spots, and then it looked like that. So a lot of it is about context, because just where you're putting your color, blocking it in, and then it just creates this magical illusion. And I love, that's why I think painting is so magical. You just get these fun outcomes, such a minimal amount of effort. Next thing I'm going to do is add some blue. So we can clean the brush. And I'm just going to mix a little white and blue together. Just white and blue. And then I'm going to go in there and add that. You can even just use a little bit of pure blue with maybe just minimal amount of white at the very top to create a couple different shades. And again, notice how I'm just blocking that in. You can take it towards the pink, and then as it overlaps on your pink, you don't have to overlap it right away, but when you do, and you will, it's going to start to look a little bit purple, and that's what we want. We get that even without having to have purple. We got a little bit of orange colors even without having to have orange. So sometimes people think they need to get the color that they want to put on the canvas. They need to buy that out of the tube. And that they need to learn how to draw before they start painting. But that's not true. None of that is true. All right, notice how I have like the blue shades, but what I want to do is just dip my brush in the pure white between my pink and blue. So make sure you get a decent amount of white on there, and then that's going to help your pink and blue blend together. So I'm going to bring that in there. Pink and blue mixed together is just going to create some purple shades, which we also will get a little bit of. But remember, just leaving it a little unblended is going to kind of end up making it look like a cloud, which looks pretty. And it adds to that sunset vibe. Sunsets are actually really fun to paint, and they're a really great way to practice like color mixing and seeing how colors dance together and getting different shades and making sure your paint doesn't get all muddy, which can just take a little bit of playing around to get it where you want. But see how I can just pull in loose brush strokes, not doing anything too crazy. You can always pull more blue back in. So if you get too much where it's like too light and you want to get some of that darker blue back in, just dip your brush in the blue, just like you did with the white, and pull it in. So you want to make sure you see a few shades of your paint colors. That's what's going to make it look more interesting. There we go. And then again, maybe I kind of come in with more pink again, or you can mix your red and blue and your white together to get some light lavender. And then I'm going to pull that right in between my blue and pink on the bottom and just do some little side to side brush strokes like this and let them be kind of choppy. You can pull the color down and up, but this is going to help with the blend to make it look like, oh, it's transitioning from this pink to this purple to this blue, and it has a little bit more subtlety to it. And again, you can always get some more red and white for more of a pink tone and pull that down into the blue to break the blue up. So if there's too much blue, make sure you throw some pink in there. And if there's too much pink, you can throw some blue into the pink. And you're just doing very simple horizontal, just little brush strokes going side to side. So easy. And then clean your brush if you need to. If you need to adjust your colors at all, you can always go back to your white and your yellow and pull that in the middle, and then pull some down through the center too to get some more shade. So don't be afraid to go back and forth with your colors until you like what you see. And you can always just start at step one and come back in and layer on top. That's one of the things I love about acrylic painting. It's a little more forgiving than painting like watercolors and stuff because you can layer without it being too, you know, crazy because it can get a little crazy. Now, once we have that in there, we're going to pop in a little mountain, and then we're going to pop in trees. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is just grab a square brush, and we can come in with a purple. So we're actually going to make purple by mixing blue and red. Maybe just add a tiny bit of white to it. And then you're going to go in, again, maybe just slightly below the middle and make a horizontal line, just like that. And then you can make a little bit of some mountains. So maybe I just have like some rolling hills right here, and maybe my mountain goes a little up there and then it comes back down. So you can make it however you want. And then just color it in with that purpley color. Now notice my paint is a little wet, so it's gonna just inadvertently blend with the yellow a little bit, but that's okay. That's one of the fun things about blocking your colors in and just taking this really simple approach. You're gonna get some effects that weren't really intended, but that ends up looking really cool, and it's really low effort, and it's very Bob Ross. And you can even add a little more white to your brush as you pull to the base of the mountain. So see how you're getting these more neutral colors as you pull down. More softer colors. So easy. So again, we just painted this block of color in, not drawing, just going wiggly line, straight line. It's not like you have to draw a person's face or something, which is so intimidating. Now the next thing I'm going to do is maybe reflect this a little bit in the water. So what you can do is just change your color a little bit if you want to. Maybe come back into more of a darker purple, or a purple that just has a little bit of a different ratio in it. Again, maybe add a little bit of white. Sometimes I like to just clean my brush to reset. And then you can put a little bit of this different shade of purple, just dust it on top of your first layer. So see how that adds a little bit to it to just have a couple different shades. It gives a little bit of texture to the mountain, and then you can just gently pull it down into the water just a little bit. But I barely have any paint on my brush. I just want to reflect that color ever so slightly, just wiggling. Sometimes with the reflections too, it's good to have a little bit of water mixed into your paint. It helps it look a little more transparent and helps you glide it on a little more softly. But again, we're just wiggling. We're just wiggling the brush and layering, and it's creating this effect, which is so cool. Now the next thing I'm going to do is just go into my darker colors. I'm going to do some blue and black. I like mixing blue and black. And we're going to put some trees in. I'm going to pull down here on the left, just pull down like this. And now you've got some land blocked in down here. Again, maybe use a little bit more blue to soften it if you don't like the look of the black. But see how I can paint like across, but it goes a little higher on one side. This is kind of fun. Blue and black mixed together. And then block it in. Nice. Now I'm going to add some trees. We'll add some highlights, and then we're going to call it done. I want to show you how fast and quick it is to practice these things. So if you don't have a ton of time, if you can't make time to do something that you enjoy that's fun for 10 minutes, I mean, you got to give yourself some more love, all right? I'm just going to give you permission right now. Now I'm going to go over about an inch or so from the left side and make a vertical line. So trees are just vertical lines to start. And I'm going to do another one that's a little shorter. And then one that's even shorter, so you can play with that. And then all you're going to do is tap at the top. And then as you come down, tap a little bit more over. Push a little harder in the middle. So see, I can push really hard. And then as I pull out, you could either go up like this, or you can pull it down a little bit. So you can do a little bit of both. Trees kind of do their thing. So it's okay to do a little bit of both. And I'm going to take this all the way down to my little land area, and I'm just tapping the corner of the brush, letting my brush pull out as I tap more on the bottom of the line, and then not as far on the top of the line because I want it to look like a triangle shape. But again, we didn't have to draw a tree. We just had to tap our brush. Now here we're going to do same thing, but it's a little smaller, so we don't have as much space to fill. All trees are different, so don't have to make them match or anything like that. I'll make this one a little taller. Let's see how easy it is to just extend my line and then go in there and add. And then we'll have this little one down here, little tiny guy. And now I just tapped in trees, no big deal. I'm gonna clean the brush. We'll just add a couple highlights, and we're gonna just say, you know what? We practiced, we did it. So I'm gonna take a little bit of white on the square brush. I'm not gonna clean it. Or I mean, I'm gonna clean it first. Make sure you clean it first, and then get your white on there. And then I'm just gonna almost underline the mountain and then reflect little white horizontal lines. And that's just gonna enhance like, oh, this is like glimmering water right here. It just enhances like the difference between the sky and the land. And you can even use a little bit of like white and blue mixed together to highlight the left side of the mountain a little bit more. So see how you can just go in there and just tap in a little bit of this other color towards the left side of your mountain peak. Just on this side, it gives it a little something. But you're not trying, but you're creating depth, which is cool. And then maybe you want to do a little bit of green to highlight your tree. So just add some red and yellow together, or blue and yellow. You mix your blue and yellow and maybe a little bit of white. And then you could just gently tap towards the tops of your black areas. Add more white if you can't see your highlight. So now you can see your tree come to life a little bit. And again, maybe do another layer with more white mixed in. You can always do a couple layers, however many you want. I usually just do like 1 or 2 for the highlights. I don't like to go too crazy because sometimes it can get muddy and you don't want it to get too bright. You still want to retain the dark undercolors to make that look, more legit. And then if you want to highlight your ground a little bit, you can. I wouldn't get too, fussy about any of that kind of stuff. And then at the end, I always do some little final touch-ups. So maybe I just want to add some more light pink to the sky. So you can just take your red and your white. See how I can just pick any color I want to see more of. And then maybe I just block that into the sky just a little bit like that to break up the blue. So wherever you feel like your painting needs a little something, you can take the time to go in there and, add a little bit more pink in the sky, add a little bit more white for more of those cloud kind of looks. Just little taps. Add some more to the water, add some more to your trees. You can use your little round brush to add any little details in there, like maybe you want to just get a little bit more black on your trees, like little details, or maybe you put too many highlights and you need to get some more dark colors back in there. Or you just want to play with the shape a little bit more. You can always use a different size paintbrush. I only recommend using a few very simple brushes just to not overcomplicate the process. It keeps us in our creative flow and out of that having to make a decision. And sometimes we have to make too many decisions. It really gets in the way of our creativity. And I talk a lot about that in my classes. And that's why I just try to keep everything really simple and free of too many technical terms and free of too over explaining. You just kind of do it. You just dive in and you do these things. And then you start to learn to see what you want to see. And that's fun. So there you have it. It's a really simple little sunset with some trees and a mountain. And we didn't have to draw a single thing, but it kind of looks like it was drawn, but it wasn't. And that's the beauty of it. Awesome. I hope you painted along and finished it. And I hope you have that I can't believe I did it feeling, like that amazed feeling of just, oh, wow, actually wasn't that hard. I actually did it from start to finish. I want you to take that feeling and that momentum, and I want you to keep on learning and keep on developing those skills. And you're always going to have a next step. I'm still learning. We're always still learning. And I actually created a free gift for you to take it a little further, maybe to learn a little bit more of the behind the scenes as to why I have minimalized my approach so much. And you can go ahead and click in the link. It's called the 3-Color Secret. I want you to go ahead and grab that. Keep on showing up for yourself to allow yourself that time to create that beautiful art that you came here to create. Because if you're looking at this stuff, something inside of you is pulling you towards this and you don't want to ignore it because it's just going to haunt you instead of, it's going to haunt you. You're going to be like, oh, I always wanted to do it, but I can't draw it. Or I always wanted to, but I don't have the time. Or I always wanted to, but life is short. I'm telling you. It's gonna go by in the blink of an eye, and you don't wanna miss out on what you coulda done, what you coulda done with the courage of just doing it. Strip it down, minimalize it. And I'm here to help you do that. That's what I had to do to get myself in action, and it worked for me, and I'm pretty darn sure that it can work for you too. So go ahead and grab that free gift at the link, and I want to see you painting again as soon as possible.